Next presenter is our friend from Russia, Lyceum number 39, Ozersk in Russia.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Konnichiwa, здравствуйте. My name is Nicole. I am, as presented earlier, from Lyceum number 39, majoring in physics and maths in the city of Ozersk, Russia. And me and my fellow students are glad to be here in order to discuss global nuclear opportunities and challenges. One obvious thing we all understand is there is no person on Earth who would agree with the fact that any conflicts could be resolved only with the use of nuclear weapons. But today the risk of seeing a nuclear bomb fly over our heads, sadly, is quite high. Another obvious fact is that the energy of the atom may any day go out of our control, and if it does, the future of humanity will be at stake. But there are signs that show that we are moving towards a non-nuclear world no matter what. Many countries have taken the initiative to put nuclear energy to good use. It all started after the horrific and destructive nuclear explosion in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. This nuclear disaster in 1945 made many understand that no country has the right to violate human rights, that no country can develop armed conflicts for its own personal gain. Thus, the United Nations organization was created. It was founded in the same 1945 in order to maintain international peace and security, promoting human rights, social and economical development, and protection of the environment. But this organization turned out not to be enough. Experience showed that we needed another institution to specifically control the development of the nuclear energy and nuclear technology, so the International Atomic Energy Agency was created. It was set up as the world's Atoms for Peace organization in 1957 within the United Nations family. The agency works with multiple partners worldwide to promote safe, secure, and peaceful nuclear technologies. In 1945, in order to significantly reduce the spread of nuclear technology and control overall nuclear weapons spread and use throughout the world, the Treaty of the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons was created. The 5 nuclear states, Russia, the US, China, France, and the UK, ratified this treaty in 1968. Other events that significantly increase the transparency of the global nuclear situation are NPT conferences that are held every 5 years in order to summarize and to make sure no new conflicts between nuclear states arise. Most of the conferences go by quite successfully. However, experts think that the conference in 2005 was a failure, and yet some say it benefited some nations. The same year, we could watch quite an outstanding event. Mohammad al-Baradei became the Nobel Peace Prize laureate for the efforts to prevent nuclear energy from being used for military purposes and to ensure that nuclear energy for peaceful purposes was used in the safest possible way. Egypt's vice president, former general director of the AIEA, once said, "If the world does not change course, we risk our self-destruction." Another event that deserves special attention is the signing of New START in 2010. They played a great role in nuclear disarmament of the 2 nuclear superpowers, the US and Russia. So, we have all gathered here to discuss the possible future development of nuclear relations and nuclear energy in general. And in order for this discussion to be more interesting, we have decided to invite you to the virtual Nuclear Zero Museum. Our Critical Issues Forum has already got the wonderful experience of virtual projects. For example, the last year's project was really outstanding and brilliant for our school. And we hope our virtual museum will sound accordingly to the previous idea. So, the first room of our virtual nuclear museum is the 3 Nations Hall, representing the 3 countries that are present here today at this conference. In the center of the hall, you can see an exhibition presenting a beautiful and picturesque place, a country where people take time to meditate, to find inner peace, to appreciate all wonderful things in life. Its people are proud of their mountain and beautiful sakura trees that bloom in spring, a country whose symbols are a majestic green pheasant and a tanuka. This nation is famous for its martial arts, and of course, this country is well known for its beautiful women. Citizens of this nation are an example of what patient, hardworking, friendly, and peaceful people should be like. Yes, this is the country of Japan. The next exhibition is about a nation that puts freedom above all. Throughout history, it has gone through very difficult times in order to become the independent nation it is today. One of its national symbols, Uncle Sam, has inspired many citizens to do good for the well-being of the country. It is wide famous for its movie industry. It's impossible to count the amount of Hollywood movies that portray American patriotism. It's hard not to say anything about the beautiful, breathtaking landscapes of this country, which have become the top tourist destinations in the world. At the dawn of its history, the natives helped the pilgrims survive, and the Indian culture has become the starting point of the newborn society. The great presidents of this country sought only for peace and did everything within their power for the well-being of the citizens. Famous for cowboys, Indians, and bald eagles, this nation has gained reputation as a mighty, powerful, and independent state. Of course, we are speaking of the United States of America. And last but not least, the country I represent. A nation that welcomes guests with open arms. We say, with bread and salt. A nation famous for its legendary heroes, its substantial and sincere religious beliefs. A country that could dramatically change this political system, but we are proud of our great mighty rulers of the past, and we have got new heroes such as Yuri Gagarin, who was the first man in space. This nation is famous for its rich cultural heritage, and of course it is well known for being the host of the 2014 Winter Olympics. So we acquired new national symbols, but of course we will never refuse our traditional matryoshkas. Many guests of our country visit the city of glory, the city of victory over the Nazis, Volgograd. The capital city of Moscow is described by many as a breathtaking and picturesque city, known for its Red Square and St. Basil's Cathedral. Of course, there's the amazing and irresistible city of St. Petersburg, the center of cultural heritage. The country with endless fields and mountains, rivers and lakes, this is my homeland, Russia. Now we move on to the next hall, the Hall of Treaties. This is a virtual exhibition of the most important nuclear treaties, which either have already been ratified and have played their role in the nuclear disarmament, or could have been ratified in order to help us make the next step towards a non-nuclear world. You all know these treaties and their context, but what we want to draw your attention to is how we display them in this virtual exhibition. First, pay attention to the frames. They mean that each treaty has specific limits and obligations which the country should strictly follow. Second, look at the white canvas that the treaties are displayed on. It signifies that each time a treaty is initiated or ratified, the world tries to start its political and nuclear relations anew. We also have an outstanding compilation which was given to us by a wonderful person who considered such a compilation to be vitally important to our virtual museum. His name is Mohammed El-Baradei, and he started this collection with 3 objects and asked us to finish his work. The first 3 pieces were a calendar sheet, a paper clip, and a magnifying glass. So, have a look at our first object, a calendar sheet, resembling the day the NPT was signed. It was one of the most important days in the history of humanity. It's hard to underestimate the NPT, the most important nuclear treaty ever ratified, a treaty signed by almost all states in the world, which is the largest amount of countries ever to sign one agreement. Being the cornerstone of relations between nuclear and non-nuclear states, it has given us the opportunity to feel safe about the fact that countries that have already developed and tested nuclear weapons will keep the technology within their borders and will most likely work towards reducing their amount of weapons of mass destruction. What is more, this treaty is a symbol of most of the world's nations to work towards a world of peace, a world where all war will be forgotten and where there is no nuclear threat. Now, pay your attention to the paper clip. This very paper clip held the original copies of the SALT I and SALT II treaties. The Strategic Arms Limitation talks were aimed at curtailing the manufacture of strategic missiles capable of carrying nuclear weapons. Ratified accordingly in 1972 and 1979, they were intended to restrain the arms race in strategic ballistic missiles armed with nuclear weapons. One of my favorite pieces here in this compilation is a magnifying glass. You probably will never guess what it resembles and the reason why it is here. Actually, it was used by many countries to thoroughly inspect the FMCT and to examine each line, each word, and every letter of this treaty. The MCT is a proposed international treaty in 1995 to prohibit the further production of fissile material for nuclear weapons or other explosive devices. In fact, this could have been one of the most significant nuclear treaties ever, but after Pakistan and India refused to ratify the treaty, other nations refused and it failed and was left unsigned. as for the objects we decided to add ourselves, look at these two pens. It took much effort for us to get these objects into our collection, and I can explain why. These pens were the very ones used by two global leaders at the time, two presidents, Obama and Medvedev, to sign the New START. As you know, the New START replaced START 2, which outdated in 2009, and its main points are the control and limitation of strategic offensive arms and the determination of the structure of a state's strategic forces within the aggregate limits of the treaty. To increase confidence and transparency, the treaty also provides for an annual exchange of telemetry on an agreed number of ICBM and SLBM launches. We understand that the ratification of this treaty by the US and Russia means that both states are willing to come to agreements and seek peaceful, harmless ways to reducing their nuclear arsenal for the future good of our planet. The last object, a rare photos of leaders signing another NP treaty, symbolizes the fact that only unanimous actions towards transparency and nuclear disarmament can lead us to a nuclear zero environment. But there are treaties which are unfortunately ignored by some nuclear states. For example, the Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty, or the CTBT, adopted in 1996 by the UN, by which states agreed to ban all nuclear weapon tests in all environments for military or civilian purposes. This multilateral agreement did not enter into force due to the non-ratification of 8 states. If this treaty were to be ratified by all necessary states, it would largely increase nuclear transparency and overall trust. You already know what I mean by framing a specific exhibit. A frame makes our understanding of any treaty easier, and it's the frame that directs each state toward one common goal. By the way, you probably don't see a sheet of glass covering this compilation. Well, it is there, and you don't see it here only because our virtual glass is absolutely clear and see-through. It is as truly clear as the transparency and desire of nuclear states to share all information concerning nuclear weapons fabrication and arsenals in order to get rid of any threat, mistrust, and misunderstanding. Now, have you ever played checkers? Well, if so, then you know that it is a simple game with no plot and strategy, and basically any move has minor consequences for any team. But what about the game of chess? Well, this is not a simple game, as you probably know, where one wrong move can lead to the victory of the opposing side, or, in our case, the start of a nuclear war. We invite you to watch a unique game of chess on our virtual chessboard. Our world right now can be compared to a chessboard, and different states are pawns. Depending on the status the nation possesses concerning its attitude to nuclear weapons, we have divided them into 2 teams. So, according to this criteria, on one side we have states that refused any nuclear technology, refused nuclear weapons. These are nations that deal with all national and international problems in the safest and most peaceful possible way. On the opposite dark side, we have countries that are official nuclear states, or countries that claim nuclear weapons to be the only way to guarantee absolute integrity and balance of political power. The US, Russia, China, France, the UK, Pakistan, Israel, and India. And these are only 8 of the potential pawns. But what are the red buttons placed in front of each nuclear state? Well, these are the buttons that will activate the start of a nuclear war. And if moved on, they release nuclear warheads and cause a chain reaction of more firing, which will end with the destruction of the chessboard, or in our case, the destruction of the world as we know it. The situation on the board basically means that any move by the nuclear states is going to end the game. These pawns are equally dangerous, despite the fact that the US and Russia have the biggest nuclear arsenal, and other states only have a few warheads. All nuclear states are in equal conditions, and they all have the capacity to start a 3rd nuclear war. So, as you can see, even starting the game is the beginning of the end, and our team has a strong belief that this chess game should and must never start, because even one small move of any pawn will lead to irreversible consequences, because any country's move means that it is trying to show its dominance above other states, its disagreement with any previous decisions and treaties, and this will lead to further movements by other states, resulting in the destruction of the world as we know it. We welcome you to the last room, the Hall of Mirrors, or the Hall of Parallels. Mirrors are an interesting thing. Each person can see the same object differently in its reflection. Also, the mirrors in this museum reflect not only what stands before it, but the pure essence of the object. For example, what do you see here in this mirror? What is this process called?
Chain reaction.
Well, pretty close. It's the splitting of the atom. As you know, uranium and plutonium atoms are unstable and slowly tend to split into atoms of lighter elements. At the same time, extra neurons fly apart, creating a certain amount of energy. And we saw in this mirror that by the same token, nuclear technology in its diversity tends to split and spread irregularly and quickly all over the world. Another mirror apparently reflects the atomic chain reaction. But what we see is that similar to a nuclear chain reaction, right after the two first nuclear states appeared, a chain reaction started. More and more countries developed or obtained nuclear technology. This mirror, as you can see, reflects a few things. For example, a nuclear detonator, which is part of an explosive that is more sensitive to outside effects than the present explosive elements of the main category. And we have come to a conclusion that disagreements and disputes of political and economical nature, provoking pretenses, misunderstandings, and mistrust, for example, the Cold War, is very similar to such detonators. The same can be said about the process of milling. Milling is one of the two primary recovery methods that are currently used to extract uranium from mined ore. By the same token, the development of treaties and agreements containing aspects that require immediate attention can be called a milling of sorts. And there is also the process of mining, which is the extraction of valuable minerals or other geological materials from the earth, which forms the mineralized package of economic interest to the mine. What can the process of mining be compared to? Well, there can be many parallels here, but the clearest one that we saw is that the activities of the International Atomic Energy Agency focused on shedding light on nuclear threat and control over nuclear weapon states and non-nuclear weapon states are alike to mining. But there are things which remain the same and never undergo any double standards. Friendship, love, mutual understanding, a wish to live on a safe planet in peace. They never change, no matter what virtual mirror halls you put them through. We have got some pictures here. They are kind of an experiment or psychological test, which are here to prove that now, being teenagers, we all see the same things and think alike. So, have a look at the first picture, on number 1, and describe what you see. Can you tell me what's going on here on the first picture? What is described in the first picture? I need at least, I don't know, maybe 3 people. Say.
Space.
Yeah, space. Does anybody else think the same? Okay, what about the second picture? What is going on in the picture? What can you see here?
People holding hands around the earth.
Yeah. What changed in the third picture?
There's a dove.
Yeah, dove of peace. Now, what do you think the objects around the planet are on the fourth picture? Does anybody else have any ideas? Okay, what are the black people? I mean, what are the people in black clothes that you can see on the sixth picture, the fifth? Who do you think they are? What do they resemble?
People.
Yeah, basically. What about on the sixth picture? Can you describe anything? What do you think this is? What nuclear disaster could this be?
Nuclear power plant disaster?
Yeah. On the eighth picture, well, I think it's obvious. This is the gathering of 3 countries here for the CIF conference. Yeah. And the ninth picture, I guess, this is just all of us here. So basically, this means that when we all grow up and become a mighty and wealthy establishment, we will all have a great chance to understand each other, and our mutual efforts will make our planet a safe planet to live. Because now, being teenagers, we all think alike, And even though we have very different backgrounds, we are very different people. We come from completely different countries, completely different cultures. We all think alike, but we have all the same opinion that we need nuclear non-proliferation is very important, and basically that safety and world security, world peace is the most important topic right now in our world. So now I will show our variant from these pictures that are actually a story. We believe it to be somewhat of a symbol of this conference. So I welcome a junior student of our Lyceum, Pavel, who has made a cartoon, and he will tell us his story.
This is our planet, a hot core in a pretty case, so lonely and small in the black cold space. Just look at the Earth, irresistible sight, its oceans and continents, green forest and sunlight. And these are people, you and me, adults and children, all friends to be. We live on this planet, a hot core in a pretty case, so lonely and small in the black cold space. Just look at the Earth, irresistible sight, its oceans and continents, green forest and sunlight. And this is the dove of peace, who will soothe our souls, keep our minds at ease, renew our faith, and teach to appreciate the simple blessings of every day. Gives hope to all people, you and me, adults and children, all friends to be. We live on this planet, a hot core in a pretty case, so lonely and small in the black cold space. Just look at the Earth, irresistible sight, its oceans and continents, green forest and sunlight. And these are the bombs. And these are the bombs, black sharks galore, with nuclear warheads, they are prepared for war. The destruction and death, they are hiding inside. No mercy, no sense, indifferent sight. They attack our dove, the dove of peace. We'll soothe our souls, keep our minds at ease. Gives hope to all people, you and me, adults and children, all friends to be. We live on this planet, a hot core in a pretty case, so lonely and small in the black cold space. This is the establishment, mighty and wealthy. They work in the governments and think they know everything. Economy, industry, politics and law. They want to feel strong, keep others in awe. But how can they do it? There is nothing to eat. They just need some bombs. Black sharks galore, with nuclear warheads, prepared for war. They attack our dove, the dove of peace. We'll soothe our souls, keep our minds at peace. Gives hope to all people, you and me, adults and children, all friends to be. Who live on this planet, a hot core in a pretty case, so lonely and small, in the black cold space. This is Fukushima, a terrible disaster that spread fumes wider, that spread poison faster. It was a global warning to all up yonder. Control has its limits, the atom is stronger. Is self wilder and capricious its wishes. That's what Fukushima tried to tell the establishment, mighty and wealthy, who work in the governments and think they know everything, who just need some bombs, black sharks galore, with nuclear warheads prepared for war, who attack our dove, the dove of peace, who will soothe our souls, keep our minds at peace. The dove gives hope to all people, you and me, adults and children, all friends to be. Who live on this planet a hot core in a pretty case, so lonely and small, in the black cold space. This is Monterey, an important location. It gathered together, it's from many nations. We thoroughly explore the nuclear research, we see the atom dual nature and keep on it a close watch. We don't need nukes to keep us busy. Even without them, life will not be nice and easy. Ecology and education, transport, space and food, energy questions, nuclear energy, but good. We need to use it, but not abuse it. And never let another Fukushima strike. A terrible disaster that spread fumes wide, spread poison fast. Try to tell the establishment, mighty and wealthy, who work in the governments and think they know everything, who just need some bombs, black sharks galore, with nuclear warheads they are prepared for war. Who attack our dove, the dove of peace, who will soothe our souls, keep our minds at peace. The dove gives hope to all people, you and me, adults and children, all friends to be, who live on this planet, a hot core in a pretty case, so lonely and small, in the black cold space. Just look at the Earth, irresistible sight, its oceans and continents, green forest and slime. That's all. Thanks for attention.
So are there any questions?
Thank you.